It was a cold October morning when Emily Carter's world quietly unraveled. The sky hung low and gray over the small town of Maple Ridge, the kind of morning where everything felt heavier than it should. Emily sat inside her car in the parking lot of a downtown coffee shop, gripping the steering wheel like it was the only thing holding her together. Her hands trembled. 2 weeks earlier, she had lost her job as a nurse's aide at the county hospital. Budget cuts, they said. But the truth was simpler. She was tired, overworked, and life had caught up. If you believe true kindness always finds its way back, please tap the like button now and subscribe to support more stories like this. Emily's rent was overdue, her car payment past due, and her little daughter Lily was home with a fever she couldn't afford to treat. She had come into town that morning to sell her grandmother's necklace, the only piece of her mother's memory she had left. As she stepped into the pawn shop, a warm jingle of the doorbell contrasted the bitterness in her chest. The man behind the counter, middle-aged and distracted, looked up briefly before going back to his ledger. When Emily opened her hand to show the necklace, her voice almost broke. "It's real gold. It was my mom's." The man squinted, then offered a price so low it felt like an insult. But Emily nodded anyway, her pride buried under the weight of survival. Just as he reached for his cash drawer, a voice from behind interrupted. "I'll give her double for it." Emily turned. A man in a worn denim jacket stood there holding a steaming cup of coffee. He looked about 40, unshaven but kind-eyed. He smiled gently. "It's too beautiful to be pawned." Without waiting for a response, he handed her a folded $100 bill and walked out, leaving the necklace behind. Emily blinked, speechless. She ran after him, but he was gone, just disappeared into the flow of morning traffic. That single act carried her for weeks. It paid for Lily's medicine, bought groceries, and reminded Emily that there were still good people left in the world. She started volunteering at a local shelter soon after, serving hot meals to strangers who, in many ways, reflected her own pain back at her. 3 months later, just before Christmas, Maple Ridge was struck by one of the harshest snowstorms in years. Roads froze, power lines fell, and the whole town seemed wrapped in a blanket of quiet desperation. Emily was at the shelter that evening when she heard that a truck had slid off the icy highway just outside town. Instinctively, she grabbed a first aid kit and rushed out, her nurse's training kicking in despite the fear clawing at her heart. When she reached the scene, the pickup truck was half buried in snow, its headlights flickering weakly. She fought through the biting wind, prying the door open, and found a man slumped over the wheel, bleeding, barely conscious. She whispered, "Hang on, I've got you." She wrapped his arm around her shoulders, dragging him through the snow toward her car. It wasn't until the flickering dome light hit his face that her breath caught. It was him, the man from the pawn shop, the stranger who'd once saved her when she had nothing left. He groaned softly, trying to speak. "You." The necklace. Tears blurred her vision. "Don't talk, just hold on." She pressed her coat tighter around him, her own body shaking from the cold. In that moment, it wasn't about fate or coincidence. It was humanity folding back on itself, kindness returning full circle. At the hospital later that night, the doctors said he'd survive. A concussion, a few broken ribs, nothing time wouldn't heal. When Emily checked on him the next morning, he was awake, eyes filled with confusion and gratitude. He managed a weak smile. "You saved my life." Emily smiled back, her voice trembling. "You saved mine first." He blinked, struggling to remember, and then the recognition washed over him like a wave. Pawn shop. Necklace. His eyes filled with tears. "I never forgot your face." She laughed softly through her own tears. Guess the world didn't either. For the first time in months, Emily felt something lift inside her. Not relief, not pride, but peace. It was the quiet realization that every act of kindness, no matter how small or forgotten, ripples back when we least expect it. In the weeks that followed, she and the man, whose name was David, stayed in touch. They worked together at the shelter, serving those who had no one else. Some days they didn't even talk much. They just shared silent gratitude that life had brought them back to the same place, one helping hand at a time. We'd love to hear your story. What is the most memorable act of unexpected kindness you have witnessed or received? Share it in the comments below. And if this story touched your heart, please don't leave without pressing like. It helps this channel share more hope with the world. Because sometimes, the smallest kindness doesn't end with a smile. It ends in tears of gratitude, the kind that heal,